And I remember there were people that used to try to push their influence on you and things of that nature, but Mr. Johnson Sr., he never said anything without a great deal of thought and preparation. And once he said something, it stuck in your mind, and it just became reality. I just appreciate him.
All right, thank you so much for that. And we'll move on to audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come forward at this time. And Ms. Shelley Bradley is signed up. Ms. Bradley, come on down. Just walk right up there, and I've got 1702 Northwest Williams, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I push this button. All right, it's good. You can hear me. Okay. So my name is Shelley Bradley, and I just wanted to come and announce the National Day of Prayer. It will be a breakfast at the First Baptist Church downtown at between 7 and 8 o'clock, and then at noon we will be at the Lawton Courthouse from 11 to 1 praying. It's going to be a come and go as you wish, just to come and pray. Bring a lawn chair. We haven't got it all together, but there should be music, and just if there's a time that no one may be there, that's fine. Just come, and we just invite everybody just to come and pray. And then also our church at 1702 Williams Christ Community Center will be having prayer at 6 to 7 that evening.
Okay, and the National Day of Prayer is May the 4th, right?
May the 4th, I'm sorry, yes, May the
Right.
4th. And it's been in effect in law for 71 years.
All right.
And we've been doing it here at Lawton as long as I can remember. And it will be, May the 4th, that's next Thursday.
All right, and I'd just like to say thank you and the others that have been involved in picking that up and making it happen this year. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, and Benjamin Burris. What does that say, 2332?
Benjamin D. Burris, 2332 Northwest 47th Street, Lawton, Oklahoma.
Okay. Yes, sir, you got 3 minutes.
All righty. What I'm trying to do is, I have been for quite a while here now, trying to make a recommendation to the city council and the folks here, and I'm going to try not to even read this, okay? And about doing something at Elmer Thomas Park, meaning I want to put a memorial bench out of Elmer Thomas Park for C.H. Brazell, or as you know him, Officer Brazell, and Raymond McIntyre. I've known them for quite a while. Since 1972, I met them at Cameron football game quite a while back. I used to watch Raymond run up and down the field, cheering the people on. I never could figure out who he was cheering, but he was cheering somebody. And the same thing out there with the racetrack. He'd be out there in the racetrack waving his flags with his headphones on and his microphone on and everything else, and he was giving them drivers the devil. But they were never connected. So I just want to make a recommendation that we put a memorial bench out there for Officer Brazell and Raymond, and I think they both deserve it. And I pretty well bet that Brazell's taking care of Raymond right now. That's what I want to do.
All right, thank you so much for coming.
All right.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward during this time of audience participation for an item that is not on the agenda? Yes, Ted, and we need your name and address.
My name is Ted Smoleski. I live at 2509 Southwest Cornell Avenue here in Lawton, Oklahoma. Councilman Mayor, I've got a question for you guys. I was in Walmart last week going through the parking lot. What can we do about people parking in handicap spots that do not have the placard on their vehicle? all the parking spots were, I finally gave up and went home because the 6 cars I seen had no placards. Their windows are dark, but I walked up to them and looked, and you can tell. Is there anything the city of Lawton can do to help control this problem and try to start making it easier for people that do have the handicap be able to use them?
So that's a good question, and of course, as you know, we can't converse
I
back
know
and
you
forth
can't.
about anything that's not on the agenda, but the city manager can get you connected with somebody that can tell you what the law is and what we can do, okay?
Well, I think as council, it needs to be addressed by council.
Well,
someday.
my guess is there's already some laws on the books, and we'll find out what that is before we.
Well, we need
do
to
anything.
figure out how to enforce those rules and laws then, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward during this time of audience participation? And we need your name and address.
My name is Lois Raphael. My legal residence is 329 Southwest 71st Street,
Okay.
Lawton, Oklahoma, 73505. My council person is no longer here, Mr. Faudenbach. And so, some time ago, Mr. Mayor and the City Council, you all passed a resolution reference to city parks that's within communities. And from my council person, I found out that the park at Alamo West was assigned to Lawton Public Schools, given away to Lawton Public Schools. And so, my question was to my council person, why was this park that's surrounded on all 4 sides, north, south, east, and west by families and homes, closed down? The community was there before the school, and the park was there before the school. And I was told by my council person that during the times that the school would be closed, that even though it was turned over to schools, the gates would be open where the community would have access to it. And so since that's been done with the transfer of that property over, there's locks on the gates, and those parks have never been opened, even during the Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and holiday time when school is not in session. Though that park is not open. It has locks on the gates. Even the handicap slot where you go into the park, you can't even access to it. It's got a fence around it. And the fence is locked down all the way around the school. There's no access for the community. But for the people to access the park you left open is across a main thoroughfare where a railroad track is. Now, if I'm not in the right form, if I need to go to Lawton Public Schools, I'll go there. But I was told that even though the property was turned over, that the community will still have access to it, but we don't have access to it. And so I need an answer for that, or I need to be pointed in the right direction where I need to go.
Okay, so as I've said, we don't answer back and forth due to the Open Meetings Act requiring things to be on the agenda. But if you will leave somebody your phone number, if you'll leave that with the clerk, I will get back in touch with you, find out more, and get you an answer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward during this time of audience participation? Yes, sir, and we need your name and address, and you'll have 3
Yes, sir.
minutes.
My name's Kyle, K-Y-L-E, Lewis, L-E-W-I-S, from 2106 Northwest 54th Street, right behind Lawton. I wanted to point out that in June 14th, 2025, we're looking at a big celebration. The United States, is this going to be up? United States Army will be having its, okay. Again, I'm Kyle, K-Y-L-E, Lewis, L-E-W-I-S, from 2106 Northwest 54th Street, Lawton. I wanted to point out that June 14th, 2025, the United States Army will be celebrating its 250th anniversary. And if we're wanting to do something a little bit more than a cake and proclamation, then some planning will probably need to take place. Just kicking some ideals around. Maybe some artwork of the fort, late 1800s, with some period correct uniforms. We do have a university here in Lawton that has an art department. Might want to consider that. Also, another possibility is paying for their dining in, where they have a celebration, where they do kind of like a unit celebration. Reserve the O Club for them. I'm sure we can get with the distributors here in town. Excuse me. And I'm sure they'll provide a couple kegs if they wanted to for free. But also later that year, the United States Navy and the Marines will also be celebrating their 250th birthday. But you know, the Army base is here, so I imagine we'll go a little bit bigger for them.
We're absolutely, thank you for bringing that to our attention. If you'll stop over at the clerk's and leave your phone number, I want to get in touch with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And thank you for bringing it to our attention 2 years ahead of time so we can start doing something. I
Yeah.
appreciate that very much.
Yes, sir.
If you'll leave your phone number. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward during this time of audience participation?
Mayor, before we start on the agenda, may I make an announcement? So we have the trash off this weekend, April 29th. That's going to be at the museum auditorium parking lot. So for those of you who have big bulk trash items that you want to get rid of this weekend, it's the perfect time to do it. And I also wanted to say that we are back up, both audio and video, and we're streaming right now. So just want to make that announcement.
All right, thank you so much. And that brings us up to the consent agenda. And right before I read that, I want to say that we're striking item 25 from the consent agenda, and we're striking item number 33 from the regular business agenda. We're pulling item number 6. So from the consent agenda, we're striking 25 and pulling 6. Is there anything else the council would like to pull to discuss? Can I get a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of item number 25 and item number 6. And I'll have you know, I did that from memory because I don't have a pen.
We'll see if we can get you one. Do I have a second? We have a second. Please vote. And the motion carries 7-0. Bringing up item number 6. Consider allocating an amount up to $35,000 from the Papel CIP under Section A4B 2015 CIP Summer Youth Program funding to fund the Summer Arts Institute for the Underserved, hosted by Arts for All in conjunction with the Lawton Public Schools, and direct staff to draft an agreement for services for FY 22-23. Council, the reason I pulled this is very well explained in the AIC, but the reason I pulled it is, looks like I might have tagged on to a fund that was for something else. Visited with the city manager about this, and we've identified some other funds. What we're going to do is wait until the item comes back for approval, the agreement comes back for approval. We'll let you know which fund we're going to get that out of. But we do have the funding for it, if I can get a motion for approval. And of course, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion for approval and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. And that takes us to unfinished business, item number 27. Continue the public hearing and adopt a resolution declaring the structures located at 2105 Northwest Bessie Avenue to be dilapidated pursuant to Section 651 Lawton City Code, ordering the owner to abate the nuisance, authorizing summary abatement, and authorizing the city attorney to commence legal action in district court to abate the nuisance. John?
Mayor, council, after talking with the property owner, the house that is on Bessie, they have actually already pulled permits and actually started to remodel this property itself with new paint, new roof. So it is my recommendation that we do not put this on the D&D list.
We don't need to take any action then, right?
Correct, I think that's right.
20,
We're not going
so-
to, if we're just not going to declare it dilapidated or take any action. Continue with public hearing, adopt resolution, so, yes,
So staff's recommendation is that we don't declare it dilapidated, there would be no action.
And no public hearing?
Well, we've continued the public hearing.
Mayor, I'd recommend you close the public
Yeah.
hearing, just
Okay, so we will close the public hearing at this time, and no action is needed. We're good? Moving on to item number 28. Thank you, John. Consider staff options to increase low-cost and no-cost family-friendly activities sponsored by the City of Lawton, and take any action deemed necessary. Christine. Okay, it looks like we got library, parks, and arts and humanities all presenting on this.
Pretty much here just to answer questions. Good afternoon, everyone. As you're aware, it seems like several council meetings ago now, staff was asked to come up with some programming ideas for if we were able to get additional funding. And so we've provided a letter from the library, arts and humanities, and parks and recs on some of our recommendations for some more free and family-friendly programming activities. So we're here to answer any questions if you guys have any. Okay.
There was something in your letter about the swimming pool.
Yes, for Parks and Rec, we are recommending that $50,000 go towards the operation of the pool so that we can get it up and running, and then we can program the pool. Do, family swim nights and maybe movies and stuff like that, dive-ins, and increase the programming at the pool.
Okay. Any questions, council?
Do we have a proposed date when that pool will be open?
Right now, we're tentatively right around Memorial Day, but it's going to really depend on if we get all the repairs done that we needed to open safely.
Is that the normal time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And library?
I would just say that our library does over 300 events each year, so if you want to give us more money for staffing and for program funds, we will gladly take that. We're just busy and we work with partners to develop new events all the time, so I don't have I don't have a presentation, just if you have any suggestions or want to give us more funding, we will always take more funding.
All right, thank you. And arts and humanities?
So with Arts and Humanities, of course, we fall under Parks and Recreation. So with all of our events, we're working hand in hand with Parks and Rec. One of the things
Jason,
that we would propose...
would you take that mic and hold it up?
Yes. How about that?
Closer.
Closer?
Yeah.
Closer. There we go. All right. So Arts and Humanities, like what I was saying, is that we fall under Parks and Recreation. So we'll work hand in hand with them on kind of putting events on, similar to how we do with Freedom Festival, International Festival, City of Lawton Birthday. All those are strong collaborations. So our office typically heads some of the largest festivals that occur in the City of Lawton, and or support and collaborate in events such as Arts for All as much as we possibly can to help with the administration part of it. So what we're proposing is that with $50,000, going back to the Half and Associates survey about what citizens wanted, and that's more outdoor festivals and events, we could do that. We could add in additional indoor and outdoor concerts, establish a military and the arts festival. I hosted one in collaboration with Cameron University when I was a professor there back in 2015. We could bring that back as an annual festival here in Lawton. And then also implement new programming with an artist in residency program in which we bring in national renowned artists to work with our youth right here in Lawton, Oklahoma, and also increase youth theater opportunities that are here. In addition to that $50,000 proposal, one concept is to utilize our current existing city resources. One of those resources that we have is a lease agreement with our Lawton Central, what used to be known as Lawton Central Mall, now Central Plaza. And if the city were to allocate just a little bit more funds, maybe around $250,000, we could actually have a park or an indoor park that becomes basically the largest in the state of Oklahoma and becoming an attraction right here in Lawton, Oklahoma.
So have you got any more details on that?
So I did find some more details on that. I reached out to the same vendor that Children's United is working with for the all-inclusive park out at Elmer Thomas Park. And if we started off with an allocation of around $250,000, we could actually start with about 15 park elements that could be installed into the park. One of the things that I was thinking about was the zip lines, the park zip lines that are actually metal. You don't have to have any harnesses, you just grab and go. They also have accessibility ones, which you sit in a chair and you can be pushed along. Those range from about $8,000 to $10,000. So the mall, or the Central Plaza, is about 800 feet long. And so if you had about 15 of those, you could have one every 40 feet, and you could have kids ziplining from one end of the mall to the other. And the cost of that, plus the underlayment, would come in right around $237, leaving a little bit to, contingency fund. And that's just with the zipline elements. That could be a start into building, like I said, one of the largest indoor parks in Oklahoma. Currently, when I reached out to a few different park vendors, the majority of the indoor parks are at hospitals or restaurants. And like I said, City of Lawton, with a lease agreement over the plaza, we have a unique opportunity to utilize that and create that into a public space that draws people just like the Gathering Place up in Tulsa. Except for in the summer, when you can't even touch the slide because it's 1,000 degrees, or in the winter when it's really cold. We have all this space that's heated and cooled, and let's put it to use and bring some more traffic to Lawton.
Council, do y'all have any questions?
I have a comment. There's always a waiting line at the Gathering Place in Tulsa on the zip line part. And we get a lot of requests for low cost or no cost fees for activities for children and families. And I'm all for that because we need that to have a healthy environment in our city for activities for families. And so we don't mind setting the pace, either be the top one.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, Jason, as usual, fantastic idea. How long would it take to install all this?
So essentially, they do have to build all the pieces. They do have some that are in stock, but probably about 6 months to a year before they could start getting going. So it would have to be on the next fiscal year budget. But if the plan was in place and the funding was set, we could place those orders and be ready to install. One of the great advantages of the mall is that it's already a flat surface, and they are able to, they don't have to do, the vertical drilling to place down the post. They have a way of doing the horizontal. They said they do it all the time. And so they said we could get all the machines in there. It's already a flat surface. It would be easy to anchor. And then also the layment that they put down, $17 a square foot. They said it's already a flat surface. They don't have to put the cement down underneath, so that's going to be even cheaper than trying to put the park outside.
I think that's awesome. I think it'd be a great attraction to the mall. We need to attract as many people as possible to the resident or the businesses that are in there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I've taken my kids personally up to. I have 3 of them, and we've gone up to the Tulsa and the Gathering Place, and I believe that if we had this could actually bring in people from Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls to Lawton, just because, like I said, not only would we be the largest, we would be the only, and we would be the only not just in our state, but within the region, if we decide to act on it.
Yeah. Mr. Warren.
I was just going to mention 2 things, and really they're combined. But we need to, I think, make sure that whatever we do or or help someone else do, that we don't become a babysitter. We've been in that situation before, and we need to make sure that as we go along that route, we don't do that. The other thing would be, hopefully we can work with LATS in some way to provide ridership to any of these events or places that we decide to invest in. But other than that, I think it's a really good idea.
Okay, Mr. Hampton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to commend you guys for putting this together. I think anytime that we're doing any type of, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I think that we're starting to do already here in Lawton that is family friendly and kid friendly. But I think that this is a wonderful, wonderful effort to begin to move forward to provide those type of activities for our families and our children. Thank you, Mayor.
I was going to say, Councilman Warren, already with the Freedom Festival and International Festival, we do work with LATS in order to create additional transportation from McMahon Memorial Auditorium parking, and so we do work with them.
And I just want to remind council also that we need to, if we decide to look further into this, we definitely need to sit down with FISTA and make sure that all of our plans are working together.
Yeah, and I have touched base with them. With incoming Chairman Mark Brace, he's very interested, so that at least has an open door. So this is kind of interesting. First of all, when we talk about family activities, we want to get started as soon as possible, and that's one budget year. Then we want to continue after the budget year. And I think really people want winter activities as well. Now, the only phone calls I had, and I had two, were about artist in residency and talk about community values and all that. So we probably need to expand that conversation to understand it better. And I don't really know how to go. I don't know what the council has here, but I think we just maybe give direction to the city manager that he needs to find ways to fund this and put some money. We talked about $50,000. That I don't know how far that's going to go. So, what are your thoughts, city manager? What do you want us to tell you to do?
To run a shakedown at the door? No, you can just direct me to identify funding for these programs. I think that's fine.
I would like to say, I would like to get a little more details, because like that Pinkalicious thing that the kids put on, it involved a bunch of kids, and they were all doing a great activity and being introduced to the arts. And as you and I have talked, I think I saw things attached here. Children that are involved in the arts for 4 years through high school have a 34% higher graduation rate. So getting them involved in the arts is very important. Ms. Chapman.
Mayor, also, and all of you, whatever money we come up with and decide to do to implement this, I hope in the budget that there also will be continual maintenance and upkeep on these endeavors.
You know, we probably actually need to come up with a policy that expresses that, because that is a challenge throughout the city in multiple ways, unfortunately, for many years, which gets us, thank you for bringing that up. Thank you. Now, I also will say, I really didn't have in mind when we were doing this, talking about funding repairs at the swimming pool. I want you to fund repairs at the swimming pool. I just don't want it done out of this line item. You follow what I'm saying? So somebody needs to make a motion direct the city manager to pay attention to this during the budget.
So along those lines, I would ask the city manager to try to find $50,000 in funding.
Please don't put the limit on it. Because he might find 100. Let's just direct him to make it important in the next
Identify
budget.
funding for low-cost and no-cost children's activities and family activities is utilized by the library, Arts and Rec, and recreational.
I second that.
And we have a second discussion or debate. Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Bringing us to business item number 29. Hold a public hearing and consider an amendment to Chapter 21, Lawton City Code 2015, that amends Section 215509, Chapter 21, Lawton City Code 2015, by designating the required distance a residential estate subdivision can be away from a publicly dedicated sewer main before they are no longer required to connect to the publicly dedicated sewer main, providing for severability, establish an effective date, and allowing floor amendments. Cameron.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. This is a proposed amendment that is addressing injustice in the code, specifically to do with the sewer requirements for a residential estate subdivision. The current code requires any residential estate subdivision within half a mile of a publicly dedicated sewer main to tie into that publicly dedicated sewer main. This code, Planning Department and Public Utilities worked on it to come up with a new tiered approach that would allow somebody to subdivide their property, and if they were wanting to build this new house, that they would not have to then run half a mile worth of sewer main just to build that one house. And so, a little background on this. Currently, we do have a resident who is subdividing their parcel of land to build one more additional house, and they are 500 feet away from a 21-inch sewer main. So as the code stands, they would be required to run 500 feet of sewer main and tie into a 21-inch sewer main instead of just doing a septic tank. So this new tiered approach would then, we compared the cost of a septic tank and the cost of running a public sewer main to our standards, and that's where the tiered approach comes in.
So it has something to do with the size of their lot, right?
The residential estate subdivisions has a minimum lot size of an acre. And so we only currently have one residential estate zoning in the city limits, and that is this instance. So this would not affect the regular subdivision requirements. This is specifically for a residential estate subdivision. And so in the background of the AIC, that they list the residential estate subdivisions and how that's different from a regular subdivision.
Council? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, Cameron, hold the microphone a little closer.
Yes, sir. I also did want to state that this did go to the City Planning Commission, and they recommended approval on April 13th.
All right, thank you. Council? Mr. Gill?
This is a, in the city limit situation of 1 acre and more.
Yes, sir.
And this is something we're going to help people with.
Yes,
I like it. Thank you. I make a motion. We do a public hearing.
Oh, we got to hold a public hearing. Hold on, we'll get that motion.
Okay, I'll hold my motion.
Is there any questions for the staff member before we open the public hearing?
I do have one.
Okay.
I'm trying to picture this in my mind. So I subdivide my property and somebody builds a house next door. Basically, they tap onto my sewer line. Is that correct?
I don't believe so.
Because we're not requiring them to run to the main. So where is their sewer going to go?
Every service tap that's on a regular subdivision is required to be made, they're required to extend their main to, if they're within 200 foot on a normal subdivision, that's in the code. They do not connect, two private service lines cannot connect together. They have to connect to the public main. But in this case, this estate district subdivision it actually did find in the code 2,600 feet that they had to extend the sewer main, where regular subdivisions and regular home lots only required 200 feet. And like if you're answering your question, if your neighbor, he builds a house, he has to either connect to a public main, or if he's not within 200 foot on a regular subdivision, he has to use a septic system if his lot is large enough. But he cannot connect to your service because that service belongs to you.
Okay.
And has to be an acre or
So,
more.
so the subdivided property is still going to have those two options, a septic system or run it to the main?
Yes, and
Okay.
and really, in this system right here, if they're platting six lots, it's more, they gotta extend it more distance. But if it's just one lot, and really what it is, a normal septic system costs approximately $15,000. So we calculated what for one lot, a sewer main extension would be, how long you would get $15,000 worth of sewer main extension. That's how this tiered level occurred. So it basically balances what the septic system would cost versus extending a public main, and balance that.
Gotcha.
Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Rusty, just for clarification, so this is in the city limits, and generally speaking, the cost of running a sewer line other than the septic system would be on the burden would be on the resident, correct?
That is correct.
And thus, this septic system would be on the cost would be the burden of the resident also, correct?
That is correct.
And just one other question for clarification. In the septic system, is there like inspections, being that this is in the city limit, that they'll be conducting?
They have to get an Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality permit. They have to actually do the requirements to get percolation test, or depending on what kind of septic system they're putting in. There's 2 or 3 kinds of septic systems on how much lateral field they need, and it has a minimum lot size and minimum distance from the edge of their property. So there are a lot of rules, but that is governed by the Oklahoma Department of Environment.
So the inspection would be done through the county or state?
Yes.
And being in the city limits, if there's a problem, then is there a time where we could step in? Let's say some neighbors are complaining or something.
If they're not maintaining it, neighborhood services can notify the property owners, and they can be cited because of creating a public nuisance.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Yes.
I understand, Rusty. This is basically, this amendment makes it available for the property owner to put in a septic system. As it is now, they can't do that under these conditions.
They would have to extend 2,600 foot of
Yeah,
public sewer main.
so they'll have 2 options with this amendment if we pass it, to be able to take care of their sewage.
Correct.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that.
we always would prefer the sewer main installation, but this puts a hardship on a single lot or
Sure.
or only a couple of lots.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
At this time, go ahead, Mr.
So Rusty, a little more clarification. So the first homeowner already has a sewer line run, but it's a smaller line, or what are we talking here?
There is a private sewer service from one of the adjacent properties that extends to the public main. It is a private sewer.
Which means it's smaller?
It means it's smaller. It does not meet city standards.
Okay.
And it is private, means that the adjoining lot cannot connect to it.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
Make my motion again. That we.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. By the way, waive the reading of the ordinance and read the title only. Just say yes.
Yes.
Okay, we got it. And we have a second discussion or debate. Please read the title.
An ordinance pertaining to sewer improvements of a residential estate subdivision, amending section 21-5-509, article 21-5, chapter 21, Lawton City Code 2015, by designating the required distance a residential estate subdivision can be away from publicly dedicated sewer main before it is not required to connect to a publicly dedicated sewer main, providing for severability and declaring an effective date.
Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 30, receive public comments on the usage and allocation of unallocated sales tax revenue which has been or is expected to be received for the July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023 timeframe. These funds are estimated to be $5,472,607 at June 30, 2023. Joe.
Well, this is just the continuation of some discussions we had a couple of weeks ago. Our resolution of intent requires us to have 2 public meetings to discuss the options for allocating out money above the $23.5 million that we expect to receive in any one given year. The $5,472,607 is expected to be above the $23.5 million that we received this year.
Okay, and I'm going to make a comment because there's a lot of confusion about this item. And it's unfortunate that the resolution calls it excess funds because it's turned out to be inflationary funds. When we wrote this resolution in 2019, actually, inflation was less than 2% and wasn't a tremendous factor. Since then, as we all know, inflation has gotten very high. And for construction items, it's gotten even greater. So all of this money that appears to be excess, which it just hasn't been allocated, it appears to be surplus, I've heard that word used, is not surplus and is not excess, even though it's called that by the resolution. So all of this money will be spent on the items that are in the CIP that the citizens voted for, and we would not be able to do them if it wasn't for this additional income coming in. We would not be able to keep our promises to the citizens. So at this time, I will open the mic up for public comments. Yes, ma'am, I need your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Gloria Mercado. My address is 629 Northwest Waterford Drive, Lawton, Oklahoma,
Okay.
73505. I realize that you're saying there aren't the excess of funds. However, I'd like to address, in 2015, as a result of expressed concerns by citizens of Lawton regarding the operations at the Lawton Animal Welfare, the city manager and members of the Lawton City Council at that time instituted changes to embrace the quality of life of animals in the care of Lawton Animal Welfare, as well as create a citizen-friendly environment, which we greatly appreciate. One of the major improvements that council stated would be forthcoming was the building of an adoption center separate from the existing facility. The city of Lawton has one of the oldest animal welfare facilities in the state of Oklahoma for a city of its size. Its current capacity is not able to accommodate the number of stray and adoptable animals adequately within current industry standards. Considering this, it is perhaps more fiscally responsible to build an entirely new facility that would accommodate both stray and adoptable animals. Therefore, we are respectfully requesting the city of Lawton roll the anticipated, I know it's not excess, but excess funds of $5.4 million and allocate these funds as a portion of the funds to be used to build an entirely new facility. This would be in addition to the $580,000 listed in last year's animal welfare budget under capital improvements. And those funds are again listed in the preliminary fiscal budget, of 2023 and 2024 for Lawton Animal Welfare. While not specifically listed in the resolution, it does meet the criteria of improvements to city buildings and facilities. It also will provide improvements to the quality of life of the animals held in the facility, as well as helping to reduce the euthanasia rates by allowing more animals to be placed up for adoption. I also have, which is a list that I will give to each of you. It's a new shelter build resources list, and also a list of improvements of new and remodeled municipal animal shelters in Oklahoma. And that is for you guys to review.
You can hand those out, all right? Did you want to speak too, ma'am?
May I?
My name's Marcia Cronk. I'm at 568 Southwest Indiahoma Road. I agree completely what has just been said. We've talked about adoption centers in the past, and I think that's a must at some point for our community. The problem is, this is a multi-layered problem with Lawton Animal Welfare. Right now, they don't even have the staffing to run the building that they have. We have pets as strays running the streets. We're hearing more and more from veterinarians that our personal pets are being attacked by these packs of loose dogs. We had a friend and a member of community who was not able to make it today that was on a walk and was attacked by some of these loose dogs. We've got to get a handle on that. And the problem is the shelter just doesn't have the staffing for animal control officers to go out and take care of this problem. We also have a problem with staffing burnout and depression. It's, the shelter is a difficult place for the animals to be. It's even worse for the people to be there. I would challenge each and every one of you to go to the shelter for an hour and volunteer and see what it's like out there if you haven't been. We would also like to see a lot of improvements with the way the shelter is managed in general, such as using volunteers. Volunteers are the lifeblood of so many shelters in the country, and we are not using volunteers appropriately. We have a community who would love to come out and volunteer. Let's develop those programs and give the shelter staff a break and help with some of these volunteer programs. Community education, resources for families in need. All the things that I'm trying to do with the Comanche County Pet Resource Foundation is what the city should be doing. And I shouldn't, as a citizen, have to be trying to get funds from our community to help families in need and help keep pets at home and out of shelters in the first place. This is a national movement, and it's time for our city to get involved in that and improve the conditions of the animal shelter, and that goes with increased budget and increased support. So thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward and speak on this item concerning inflationary excess funds? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comments.
Mayor, I don't know if this is a time for comments or not. If anybody, I'm really on the dog thing right now because there are so many dogs running loose and so many people not taking responsibility for that. And it really concerns me. It's a big issue. But I would say if you're thinking about getting a dog or dogs, please consider the cost factor in keeping a dog and doing it right. Taking care of their medical needs. Believe me, I have just found out the hard way, and they are a high dollar item. And so in order to do it right, which we want you to do it right, you've got to keep your fences up, you've got to have the proper medical care for the dogs, and it is very costly, so don't take one on unless you can afford that.
Is it, sir, I've already closed public comments. Anybody else on the council?
I wanted to tag on what you said, Mayor, about the funds, being extra, or whatever the words are that get bantered around.
Let's just call them inflationary funds.
And I just wanted to try to explain that a little bit, maybe use an example. We have projects that were in the CIP that have gone up $3 and $4 million just because of inflation. So, and that's the reason that we can't consider these added or extra funds, because just as our receipt has increased, the money that we've got going out for all these projects is also increased.
Ms. Chapman.
There are so many needs for this money. We realize that. I know that most of the communication I have gotten have been concerning the repair, replacement of streets. But also, I just have a passion that I just think that we have not been able, for a variety of reasons, for a multitude of years and sometimes decades, not been able to upkeep and maintain the facilities that we have right now. The museum still needs air conditioning and the roof leaks. Patterson Center, the H.C. King Owen Center. There are bathrooms that are in disrepair. There's water fountains that don't have enough water pressure and you have to put your mouth on that. Tiles are coming up. Mothers have to change their babies' diapers on the floor because there's no changing stations. Just things like that. These places are used so much by our public, and we talk about quality of life. We need to, some way or other, with the budget, figure out how we can fund these and keep on funding them and maintaining them, having the resources necessary.
Right, thank you. Mr. Warren.
And just one more comment, and this is for the public more than the council probably, because I think the council understands it. But a lot like ARPA funds that we've been dealing with lately, this is one-time money. This money can't be used for salaries, or, I mean, I guess it could be, but in a roundabout way, but it's a one-time funding, and we can't use it for salaries or things like that. It's got to be for capital or something like that, that we're only spending one time.
And then I would say it has to be used for what we promised the citizens it would be used for. And, but I do think, Ms. Chapman, in regard to the comments that you made, that we need to be considering, because I know the museum's got problems and we don't have the money. And that can be taken care of with a CIP extension. And I think the citizens want to take care of the building, so I think that's very possible. Mr. Harris, you got your finger up on your...
Yeah, just brief comment. Following up on Councilwoman Chapman's comments, the number one thing that I heard about was roads as well. So just so the public knows, we have a plan for the roads, and we would like to wave our Harry Potter wand and they'll all be fixed tomorrow, but they won't. But there is a plan, and the main roads are in an order being identified to be worked on. And so if you have a specific question about a road, contact your councilman and see if it's in the planning. If not, then you communicate to them, your desire to have certain roads fixed. We don't have an unlimited pot of money, even with these inflationary funds. And even if we spent all the money on roads, that would get us about 5 miles of road. So we need to be very careful with how, as Councilman Warren said, these are one-time funds. So we can't pay for recurring expenses out of this, or we'll have to look at that for next year. However, in next year's budget and the following year's budget, we can make accommodations. So these are all good ideas. We would love, again, to be able to wave our Harry Potter wand and make it all happen. That's not reasonable, but the roads are being addressed. Maybe not as fast as we would like, but there is a plan for those.
Mr. Warren. Well, I promise this is the last one. To what Mrs. Chapman, Councilwoman Chapman said, I think it's really, it has been a downfall for decades. And I think we need to put it in the code, council policy, or in some way, that when we bid a facility project, an example would be the new public safety building. We should have had a percentage that automatically goes into a upkeep fund. Let's say it's going to cost $35 million to build. Maybe we needed to have $3.5 million put in a fund that can only be used for the upkeep of that facility in the future. And let that grow as the years go by, because $3.5 million isn't going to be worth much in 15 years. Just an idea.
All right, thank you. And I think I see where some of our budget talks are going to go, City Manager. All right, moving on to item 31. Consider approving the First Amendment to the Limited Services Agreement between Lawton Youth Sports Trust Authority and the City of Lawton for FY 22-23 to incorporate $40,000 from the ARPA funds that was allocated in September 2022, and to allocate an additional $100,000 for field repairs and weed control, and take any action deemed appropriate. Brian Henry.
Man, all the conversation about excess funds sounds like my household conversation. Excess funds or excess spending? Which side are we on there, right? Thanks for letting us come before you today. There's two items that we're bringing to you. One is a cleanup of a previous item as the agenda item reads. So basically, we are asking for new $100,000 support to do some work on the outdoor assets, the outdoor fields for the youth sports and adult sports, to be fair. You have that in your packet. There is a list of what will be done at each park and each specific field. And then that $100,000 is really broken down into what we feel will be repairs and then spraying of weeds. You have pictures, and often people say pictures don't do it justice, and that's not in a good way. But those pictures really don't do it justice for what we really could be doing out there. But it's a start. One note for you, when we start looking at spending money, you want to know if your money's going well. The last two seasons, the winter and the current spring season, participation is up over 40% from year over year. So I think an impact is being made with the participation numbers going up. On the 40,000, that is a cleanup from what you approved in September. We never did amend the agreement of support between the city and Lawton Youth Sports Authority. So that's not an extra item. It's already approved. It's already identified funding source. So the 100,000 is the new item. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
What's the vision of the Youth Sports Authority?
The vision and the goal of the Youth Sports Authority is to create the premier youth sports program in the state.
Is this adequate funding to do what you want to do moving towards your goal?
For the time
The
being,
community's goal,
yes,
excuse me.
Not for the future, no. You'll note that we're only touching 2 or 3 fields per complex. That gets us where we're at capacity now and a little bit of growth. If the growth continues at 40%, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
My concern is that you haven't asked for adequate funds, and that the time delay may cause kids to go to another community to play sports. Have you asked for adequate funds?
This will get us through this year and projected next year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Warren.
I just wanted to let council know that anybody that hadn't been sitting in on any of these meetings, Eastern has got this youth and adult program moving. I mean, the train is rolling, and it's rolling faster than anybody expected that it would. But I think if the growth continues, we'll be able to address that towards the end of next year. And if we need extra funding, we can talk about it then. But it's really moving along, and I'm real happy with it.
Yes, I am not a lawn guy at all, but I had somebody tell me that those fields on 17th Street are in disrepair, and I kind of come here to go to work and pass those every day, and they're in my ward. As the mayor said, at one time I would go by those fields and they were just immaculate, and they have gone downhill quite a ways. And this part of this money is to go ahead and fix those fields up, correct, for this year?
For those fields,
and,
yes.
and part of next year.
Yeah, and now, when we say fix up, this is a step to get them safe to play on.
Right.
Matt was out last week picking up boulder-sized rocks out of the infield. This is money that will shave the lip from the infield to the outfield. There's about a 3-inch, Matt, about a 3-inch rise from the infield to the outfield. So the plan is that would get scraped. The infields would be replaced not with just dumping topsoil down, but with a mixture of topsoil and a turf soil. so better drainage, longer lasting, hopefully. So it's not just mow the grass. This isn't even mowing the grass, right? This is just trying to get it where the kids can play on it
Right.
safely.
Well, it just seemed like that it would be, I would like to see those fields looking pretty immaculate. I like the mayor, I would like to see a projected amount where we can get those things fixed and fixed right, at least so that we can have an opportunity to see if we can maybe find some other money. I think that this really is important for the city of Lawton to get these children, as the mayor said, here and to stay here. And I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about going out of town because there's just other facilities are a lot better, and it just seems like we're behind the 8 ball. We had this discussion with the pools, with our aquatics here in town, of people going out of town to other aquatic places, and I mean, you guys know what you need, and I think that it would be good if we on the council could really get a good picture of what you really need. You can make it as best as you want, or anywhere in between, but if we're just kind of not doing it the right way just to try to make it work, I think that it would be better for us to at least know what we could do to bring us up to a premier state.
Yes, I was going to say, it sounds like you're describing premier. Ms. Hankins.
We've been talking about these fields for a long time, and some of the old people that played on those fields said that they were that bad when they were playing on it, and they certainly haven't gotten any better. And so it's not like this just happened either. So they've been neglected for a long time, so we've got some making up to do as well. And I think that's really important, and what Councilman Warren said about maybe looking at this to get the other part of the money, we don't want to let that drop because we definitely need it.
Yeah, I mean, just doing quick math, right, with the number of fields that we're trying to address and the number that are out there, it would take 5 times this money to get these fields.
Are you wanting to see my scars?
Councilman Gill, she's the one that said the old guys, not me.
Mr. Warren.
I think part of what the authority and Eastern is trying to do here is balance this, because we don't really want to spend a whole lot of money getting a bunch of fields prepared that we're not going to be using. I mean, we need to prepare the ones, make them safe that we can use. It includes weed control. We're going to need a growing season to get the grass going again. And this should get us there, and we can make progress as we go along. But we sure don't want to expend a bunch of funds cleaning up and watering and growing fields that we're not using right now.
Yeah, and you bring up a good subject, watering. I think it's going to have to fall from the sky to water on these fields, because we don't know any condition of any of the sprinklers. Oshlager doesn't have sprinklers. Eastside, my understanding, has sprinklers, but I mean, we're going to have to dig into that and just see what's working. What we came to you for is to try and get fields playable for this year for sure, probably next year. The season's already started. And it's a process to get through the funding requests, so we're plowing forward with programming and trying to do capital improvements at the same time.
So I think I just heard you say you don't know how you're going to water these fields equipment-wise.
There is no water source at Oshlager.
And that makes me think
there is a water source at Eastside, but somebody's going to have to turn it on and see what's going on with the system.
Okay, so maybe we could have a motion to approve this and direct staff or Eastern Sports Management to bring back a plan for how we're going to get water going so we can irrigate.
I want to make that motion, but right before I do, I think we need to probably direct staff to, I don't know if we can do it in-house or not. We need to get somebody to try to turn on what sprinklers are there. get the water on, get them, and find out what works.
Yeah, I don't.
Why don't you just direct staff to get it done?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the First Amendment of the limited service agreement between the Lawton Youth Sports Trust Authority and the City of Lawton for fiscal year 22-23 that will incorporate $40,000 from ARPA funds that was allocated in September 2022, and a new request for $100,000 for field repairs and weed control, and also include in that direction to staff to work with Eastern to figure out the water situation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, discussion or debate. Please vote. Did we lose somebody? I need one more. Oh, we lost one. Okay, motion carries 6-0. Bringing up item number 32. Consider approving an amendment to the agreement for funding and limited support for the Vista Development Trust Authority for the 2022-2023 fiscal year to provide an additional $2.25 million to be used for the renovation of the space formerly known as the Sears Building to prepare the space for DoD contractors and other industrial development tenants. Mark Brace.
Good afternoon, Council. I do think that Chairman Fortney is en route while continuing to obey all the speed limit signs that are posted, of course. Well, even though I told him to speed rapidly. He will be here shortly. Well, greetings to you. We come to you today with a budget amendment, and we wanted to give you an update of what's going on at the Vista. So many of you have been involved, been down, been to some events, seen some things that are going on. So, do you have a packet in front of you? Can you see your packet? So, let's just dig in, get started. You can see there a list of our signed leases currently occupying our suites: Camgen Microsystems, Dynetics, Berry Aviation, OU through their Aerospace and Defense Innovation Institute, Torch Technologies, and CASE, formerly Ultra Electronics or Ultra Industries. So we have some names there of projects that we're working on, and there are more to come. So we're currently, you want to switch to the next page? Working on those projects there. You see about a 15,000 square foot, a 5,000 square foot, 2,500 square foot facility. The 5,000, 7,500. All of those projects would be contained in what is phase 2 of Vista 1. So that's the unfinished space of the formerly Sears building. There is a project already going in, and part of this funds will be used to improve that space in the auto bay. So that will be through SEMA Dynetics. And we can, a lot of the projects that we have working are related to drone technologies and counter-drone technologies. However, that is far from it. The Dynetics project that we have a signed lease for is related to cyber electromagnetic activity, and it is folks that are doing programming work for that system. And there are already 20 of those people already in a temporary location waiting on their space to be built out. So that project will go to 30. And then the next phase of that, we're already discussing with the company. Another 20 folks will come on another related phase of that project. And that would all be related to the area phase 2 of Vista 1 of the formerly Sears building. So you can see, we inserted a page there that you can see as you drive by the front of the Vista that indicates a lot of our partners that we have so far, folks that are working with us, have helped us in one way or another. And that was unveiled at and related to the next page, which was Vista One's completion. So the construction piece is completed of that nearly 31,000 square foot facility, which includes a conference center. We held our ribbon cutting in April. We had Governor Stitt, Senator Langford, Senator Mullen, Congressman Cole, and Congressman Lucas, and more than 200 attendees. And that's a lot of politicians to get in one spot for this event. So we were very, very pleased to have that much support, and many of those were instrumental in helping us to this point. So we are currently designing that space out there, Phase 2 of Vista 1 in the formerly Sears space. That is being developed. We are trying to fit who wants space, where they go, how they might assimilate into that process. Because many of these things, as I just said, it's not just about a drone technology. It's not just about programming. There are multiple things that are happening at the same time. So as I began to do this presentation, which I thought Clarence would be here for, I decided not to staple my copies. That wasn't a good idea, so I got them mixed up. Are you ready for important updates? If you're not, I am. Okay. So we continue to develop relationship with the commands at the CFTs. We are working with our congressional delegation on industry visits, and we're working on programmatic requests that might go into the budget for next year with those companies that have related projects. We continue to work with other entities and other cities that have projects. So in other words, we've mentioned Huntsville to you before. Huntsville's very important to us because go back 25 years, Huntsville didn't look like it did today. It is a model for what we hope to accomplish here in Lawton. In addition, we've got some other places to go because of leads that we've developed through our business development program. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about the grant updates. We do have, and part of this request is to facilitate the first $1 million HUD grant that we have, because it is a reimbursement grant. It is, you pay for it, you got to have the cash, you pay for it, then you get the cash back from the grant. So that's how we access the grant. So that's a piece of this budget request. In addition, there is another $2.2 million in the 23 budget, which is moving forward, and we have progress made on that. Sometimes the federal government doesn't move quite as fast as any of us would like. So with that, I would say, moving on to the ARPA funding, I want to give you just a brief overview of the ARPA funding. So it was a critical element that we received last year through the hard work of our state legislators. They pushed very hard for us to get this funding. And it's a significant amount of money. And what it will do, first off, we'll create a STEM center inside of the plaza facility. It won't be inside of the Vista itself, it'll be external to that. In addition to that, we'll have an incubator and an accelerator for businesses and an anechoic chamber. But the focus of that ARPA funding will be $20 million focused on educational opportunities. So we'll be working with schools at all levels, universities at all levels, and through our incubator and accelerator, we'll be working to supply an opportunity, a way for young men and women to come and develop businesses, to advance their careers, to learn about technology, to get engaged, to be inspired, to be next to the Vista, where groundbreaking technologies are being developed, and hopefully that synergy begins to build and build and build, and that $20 million then becomes just the down payment on what it will bring to our city. So that is coming. It is moving. That will be that is being developed and ran through the Oklahoma Center for the Advancement of Science and Technology. That's our partner, as was designated by the legislature. So I want to talk just a bit and add to that. So it's really an amazing thing that has been created in a matter of 3 years or so, a little less than 3 years. So we've taken this facility, we figured out what we're going to do with it, we put a plan in place. We got a lot of people doing a lot of hard work. We got people that do a lot of volunteering for this project. A city council that had the vision and the foresight to back it. And now we're beginning to see the benefit of that. So we've got jobs coming, we've got more jobs in the pipeline, and we've got things that we never even dreamed of 3 years ago about being a possibility. And I suspect by the time next year ends, we'll have even bigger things that we never thought possible. And part of the real advantage of the FISTA is that it's a public trust authority. So you're able to do public-to-public partnerships. We're able to receive federal funding and state funding. And of course, the backbone is the city of Lawton, the city council. So that combination of things provide a great opportunity for things that we never thought we could get done, and an opportunity for a conduit for money. So with that, I would say the budget amendment is $2.25 million. The specifics are related to, as you all know, revenues declining in rents received from the mall portion. And the timing difference between what it takes to ramp up what we're doing here and to begin to see the positive cash flows from that. That takes a long time. It's an investment. In addition to that, we've got a few things we want to buy. You can see there the furniture, some upgrades to some technology. The $920,000 I spoke of there, so that's related to two particular projects. That is the Dynetics SEMA project and the Torch project. So Torch is a smaller version of that. However, they're doing a larger portion of the build out. And it's a great project. So architectural fees related to the SEMA project, and then there is a roof repair that has not been included in any other prior budgets of $17,000. The $1 million for the HUD is, well, we have the money, then we'll spend it and then get reimbursed. We can do that a multitude of ways, but there's another 2.2 on the heels of that we're still going to need funding for. This $1 million would actually provide, best guess, it could get us into the end of 24's year, right? So this is 23. That would get us into the end of 24 and access the 2.2 without any additional funds, because we're not likely going to have any one expenditure over that $1 million. Have I clearly identified all of that so you've got some questions?
So we get the $1 million back, right?
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay.
Yes.
It's reimbursed. So we might get $1 million back.
We're not actually spending it and then it's gone. It is still.
So I want to say this, the FISTA's working better than I ever imagined. The number of jobs we've created in such a short period of time is phenomenal. I know it seems like a long time to people, but 2 years is not very much time in industrial development. The things this will construct, if I'm not mistaken, there's one company that's 35 jobs. And there are others that are in that range. 100 jobs at the FISTA will pump $10 million a year directly into the economy, not to mention the jobs that it creates would at least double that, the indirect jobs that it would create. I choke when I see these numbers. I like seeing the $1 million rebate, but I'm telling you, jobs are being created in a way that faster than I imagined. I imagined all the jobs. I didn't imagine it was going to happen this fast, and I'm amazed. And I want to say thank you to you, and Clarence snuck in just as you were finishing. You guys have put in you've got full-time jobs, but you've worked full-time on the FISTA for zero, except for what you get right here. And as the mayor, I want to say thank you for dedicating so much to the FISTA and so much for this community. Now, George, you got a question?
Yeah, I had just a couple. I think you guys have done a great job, and I see a bright future with FISTA. I did have some questions because it is a lot of money.
It is.
And of course, I was interested in the fact of $2.5 million. Most of that money spent is going to be on construction or improvements or lease or whatever title you want to give it. And how have we determined what that price is on this new phase? In other words, was this something bid sometime back? Did it go back out to bids to another group of contractors? I know how the first phase was done because I went over all that earlier with the predecessor that was running that, and that was all fine. I'm just curious as to what we're doing now with the construction company that's over there. Are you going to continue to keep them there? Is this a construction management type program now instead of bid, or what?
So that's a great question. Some of that I don't have the answer for, but I do have the answer for the very important first part of that question. So those came from our architect that we hired to do preliminary plans. So they did a cost estimate of what that would be, and they consulted a construction company for those costs. So we're really close, we think, on those costs. And we had just come off of the other remodel project, so we really had a good idea of those. So those came from our architecture fee. We have a couple of options for that. We will be, once we know this is set, we'll be developing an RFP, and it will either be in that form to where we bid it separate, or we tag it on to the way we designed it first, our construction management contract. The way that was designed, we can opt to go in and tag on to that one and get cost estimates, get it priced out, and get a guaranteed maximum price on that, just like you're doing on the other facility for the city, or we can set up a separate RFP. So that we have not determined, but the cost we do know pretty close.
I think that's a real important issue, because with that much money, we would need transparency to see, in fact, that there was equal prices being bid, and not just given in a form that, okay, you guys can do this at a certain percentage of costs and let's go with it, because competitive bidding is still alive and well.
Absolutely.
And it's proven to save a lot of money. And in fact, I was just working on this with engineering on some of our projects, and it would be a beneficial manner of which to do, even with the city.
Yeah, either way, it will be bid out.
Yeah.
Even if we add on the construction management, it's still going to be bid. It's a quicker process. It's still going to be bid out under the way the statute's set up. So we're very careful about following the statute as it's prescribed in the law.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Hi, Mark, and thanks again. What an excellent job you guys are doing, so appreciate that. And look forward to Krista coming on board. I hate to lose her from the chamber, but I know you'll do a great job over there. So the first one, the rent and the CAM is projected to be $209,000 less. So we cash flowed the first year. We did not cash flow the second year, correct, or the third year? So
On the retail side.
How are
That's
we?
on the retail side.
Right. How do we rectify that situation?
Well, that's a good question, and I think some of the things that were talked about earlier today here will help in that. Some of it is the times we live in, Councilman.
I get that.
It is it's a difficult and daunting task. Now, we are gaining some new tenants. There are still 70-plus tenants in the mall, and we expect to continue to have tenants. Will that go down? Probably over time. Will we utilize that space for other things? 100% that are going to benefit our community.
Okay, so that brings us to the $920,000 for the build-out of tenant space for Dianetics. Will that amount be returned via rents, or is that
No.
a dead expense?
It is invested into the project, will be part of the facility and remain that well after whether Dianetics is there or not. So Really, the payback on that will be the next 5 years, as their first 5 years comes up, and then as we move forward in the lease in the second part, we'll get rent. But the first 5 years is not, and so it's part of the incentive to bring them here to get those 30 high-paying jobs.
So after 5 years, what happens?
We'll renegotiate the lease.
Okay. The 920,000, does that include
That is
certain
only two
security
projects.
features?
There's 2 projects in there.
Okay.
Yes.
And then number 6, the 17,000 for the repairs for the Central Place parapet. That sounds like nothing, but I understand that there was a construction or an architectural oversight that that potentially allows for leakage, rain leakage.
So I learned this today. So the Sears building was built external first, and that wall is parapet wall. It sticks up above the others, and so as they added onto it, that wall was not part of the roof of the Sears space, which is all good now. It was a separate wall, and that the covering over that, as you like, the roofing had deteriorated over time and is allowing for leakage.
So was this not caught by our engineers when we were checking, when we first bought the
In
mall?
the original project, no.
Okay, so we're gonna,
We
that's
did
good.
have some roof repairs on the main.
That's what I thought.
This was kind of, well, so you call it part of the roof or part of the parapet wall, but it's the wall in between.
Okay, so we just have to eat that. There's no, we can't go against a bonding or anything from anybody, for any of the construction people on that. All right, thanks, Mark, great job.
I wanted to thank Mark and Clarence and everybody involved, again, as the mayor did. You just can't believe how much work these people have done, all in the service to the city and to the citizens. My one personal comment is, at my work, I've had more than one person tell me close to the same thing. They're all individuals that are involved either in the electronic side of combat and or research. And part of the reason that companies are coming here, besides the fact of how great the idea and the running of the FISTA has been, is because many companies that wanted to be in Huntsville, as an example, don't want to be there anymore. They want to be someplace where it's less expensive and where it's not as crowded and it doesn't take 2.5 hours to get to work in the morning. And we are able to offer all that. And these individuals have had the opportunity, one of them has had the opportunity to move to Florida or back to Huntsville, and he's going to retire in Lawton. And that's because of the FISTA. And that's just one example at work. You know, I didn't even ask him, he just started talking about it. With that said, I would make a motion to approve the amended budget to the agreement for funding and limited support and direct staff to prepare an amended support agreement for council approval.
A motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion or debate? Mr. Hampton.
Thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate all the work that has been done thus far, and it is super that we're ahead of schedule, which means that there's people doing that smarter than I am. But as an overview, there's six. Just to say, there's six 100%. There's six leases that are 100%, and then we're looking at another 6 on the phase 2 that are coming in. And then there's listed, you have 7 other projects that are right there. And I just want to clarify to everybody, I think the speed at which we're moving in, at some point, there'll be a rebound where you'll be able to, these leases will be able to pick up and produce income that will be perpetual for the whole project. And as I said, I'm not that smart, so the only thing I need you to do is say that what I'm looking at here is actually what's happening there.
That is correct, and there are more jobs associated with some of those than I really want to disclose because it seems too good to be true, but they really are. There really are some bigger components to those other pieces that are going to take up a lot more space that are moving forward. These aren't things that are just pie in the sky. They are moving forward, and we try to push them forward every day with the folks that are involved with the VISTA. And I do want to say thank you for that question because I did want to recognize Dr. Krista Ratliff as the incoming executive director of the VISTA, and we are elated to have her coming on board.
It's welcome.
And the 9-member board that oversees this has put in a great deal of effort, and your comments don't go unnoticed, and I thank you very much. I do want to point out Chairman Fortney has been exemplary in leading this charge, and his objective is to make this a better place for his grandkids, and I think we all can rally around that because that's exactly what we want to do is provide that place. So, you know, those leases, you know, while they're just names on a piece of paper to some, they're really important to us. They represent the future of the things and the opportunities that we bring here for creating jobs so that our young people can stay here.
Yes.
And so those 6 that are occupying, those suites are full with some big names,
Yes.
folks. And we're talking to some.
And they're committed, they have shown a commitment to our community.
What's even more exciting is to see the excitement from the folks that are coming to town. I could just tell you, personal stories about talking to contractors who are coming here to wanting to bring a project here for exactly what Councilman Warren was saying. It's cheaper. They want to get out of a certain area in a metropolitan place where it takes them, their workers an hour to get through traffic just to get to wherever they're working. So I could go on, I could go for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I did want to mention to anybody that didn't attend the grand opening that we as a city have got a lot of support from the state. We've got a lot of support from Washington, and we have a lot of support, as has been mentioned, from other businesses that see our community as a great place to live, a great place to raise their family. And again, I appreciate all the efforts that have been put forth in this.
Mr. Gill.
I want to say, as I did before, I really believe in this project, and I really appreciate the time everyone's put in it. And I know a lot of it is done by time and effort with no monetary rewards. But I also want to say that we're talking about a lot of money, and this won't be the last time I'll see you or someone here asking for money in the future. So I want to make the point that spending this much taxpayer money is something that when I ran, I said I would watch. So I just want to make it known that while I'm very much for this program and I think it'll help Lawton, I really want to see how these funds are spent, and the majority of it will be in construction. So I want to make sure that we do an equal type process of putting this money out that we're going to spend. And there are good ways and bad ways. And I'm available at any time for any help or questions on that, but I will be watching. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Let's vote. The motion carries 7-0. Bring those jobs.
Thank you. Thank you.
We struck item 33, so it brings up 34. Consider an ordinance pertaining to offenses and crimes creating section 1661-625, division 1661, article 16-6, chapter 16 of the Lawton City Code 2015, relating to offenses against public authority, making it unlawful to willfully disturb, interfere with, or disrupt the business of any political subdivision, which includes the publicly posted meetings or any employee, agent, official, or representative of any political subdivision, further making it unlawful to willfully refuse to disperse or leave any property, building, or structure owned, leased, or occupied by any political subdivision or its employees after proper notice made by peace officer or security personnel, providing for severability and establishing an effective date. Tim?
Thank you. I think it's actually the city manager's item, but you covered it pretty well.
Mayor, this is just a amendment to our criminal chapter, and what it does is it criminalizes certain activity that intentionally interferes or disrupts with government function, which are public meetings. Doesn't affect anything with respect to Open Meetings Act or public participation. This is just a ordinance it directly mirrors the state law, which was passed about 2 years ago on the very same topic, just with state meetings and state proceedings. So I would just ask that council approve this, waive the reading of the ordinance, and read the title only.
Make a motion to approve, waive the reading of the ordinance, read the title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please read the title.
An ordinance pertaining to offenses and crimes, creating section 16-6-1-625, division 16-6-1, article 16-6, chapter 16, Lawton City Code 2015, relating to offenses and crimes against public authority, making it unlawful to willfully disturb, interfere, or disrupt the business of any political subdivision, which includes the publicly posted meetings or any employee, agent, official, or representative in any political subdivision, further making it unlawful to willfully refuse to disperse or leave any property, building, or structure owned, leased, or occupied by any political subdivision or its employees after proper notice made by peace officer or security personnel, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Please vote. Motion carries 7-0. Bringing up staff reports, city manager.
No staff report today, Mayor.
Bringing up, we need a motion for executive session.
Make such motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll, and thank you for no staff reports.
Harris. Chapman. Gill. Hampton. Johnson. Warren. Hankins.
I haven't heard a moment, but no.
are back from executive session. Please call the roll.
Sorry, technical difficulties again. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, just yell.
Hankins. Harris.
Not here.
Chapman. Gill. Hampton. Johnson. Warren.
Executive session, item number 35. Tim?
Pursuant to Title 25, Section 307B1, the council convened an executive session to discuss the appointment of candidates to fill the position of Ward 6 council member, and if necessary, take action in open session. It's my understanding there is a motion.
Mayor, council, I move to direct the city clerk to contact the council applicants and invite them for interviews in executive session at the May 2nd, 2023 special council meeting.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, please call the roll. Or please vote, whatever we're doing. Are we voting or calling roll? Okay, vote. Motion carries 6-0. That's all we have, right? 6? Okay. Executive session item 36. Tim?
Pursuant to Section 307B1, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council convened an executive session to discuss particular candidates who have submitted applications for position of city manager. That conversation did occur, and it's my understanding no action is necessary.
Motion for adjournment?
Motion.
In a second? Please call the roll.
Hampton. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Chapman. Gill.